In the previous installment, I described what I call the paradigm of the glass bowl, which is my understanding of the paradigm of popular non-duality. It's a fallacy. It's a mistaken perception of what we are and what the world is. And now I'm going to try to connect that paradigm, support it, illustrate how that paradigm is related to popular authors of non-duality and what popular authors have to say, to connect what I've just described, this glass bowl paradigm, with what popular authors of non-duality have to say. I'm going to take a quick look at Ramana Maharshi. Again, a very well-recognized, popular, authoritative reference on non-duality. In the preface of this book, Ramana describes how he realized the self, which it reads like a classic conversion experience. He's sitting alone in a room, and he has a sudden violent fear of death. Okay, he says, there was nothing in my state of health to account for it. I just felt I'm going to die, and began thinking what to do about it. The shock of the fear of death drove my mind inwards, and I said to myself mentally, without actually framing the words, now death has come. What does it mean? What is it that is dying? This body dies, and I had once dramatized the occurrence of death. I lay with my limbs stretched out stiff as though rigor mortis had set in, and imitated a corpse so as to give greater reality to the inquiry. I held my breath and kept my lips tightly closed, so that no sound could escape, so that neither the word I nor any other word could be uttered. Well then, I said to myself, this body's dead. It will be carried stiff to the burning ground, and there burnt and reduced to ashes. But with the death of this body, am I dead? Is the body I? It is silent and inert, but I feel the full force of my personality and even the voice of the I within me apart from it. So I am spirit transcending the body. The body dies, but the spirit transcending it cannot be touched by death. That means I am the deathless spirit. Well, he comes to a conclusion while he's lying on the floor, quite alive as a personality, as a body. It's hardly definitive, at least to me, that I'm the deathless spirit. It's rather like trying to prove that you're an immortal soul while you're living in a mortal body. There's no way to separate the variables there. You are a living body, you're not actually dead. So to come to the conclusion that you're the deathless spirit, it's a bit of a leap. And I can't quite follow it. But if a person, as I described in the paradigm of the glass bowl, if a person relaxes sufficiently and simply witnesses appearances, and the visual sense, as I mentioned, particularly lends itself to this perception of reality, relaxing, one can begin to get a sense of the process of awareness. And here's where one of the problems comes in. Mistakenly associate or attribute to that awareness characteristics it doesn't properly possess, like it contains the body, it contains the world, it's deathless, it's immortal, it's self-evident, and the list goes on. These are mistaken conclusions. You're jumping to conclusions that are mistaken. The evidence doesn't support them. These are just fantasies, really. To describe awareness, that awareness, as though it's not a state, that it is some sort of absolute and changeless background, is again pure fantasy. A state. What do I mean by a state of awareness? I mean it is a condition. It is put together and it can be taken apart. Just because that glass bowl is transparent, and it's easy to mistake, because it's transparent, to just blend it in with all the content and regard all as one. That's an easy conclusion to reach, but it's the result of not perceiving the truth of the evidence. The waking, healthy body says that it's the deathless spirit. It is thinking about death. It is perhaps relaxing and disassociating to some extent from the flesh and thoughts and emotions and identification with personality. Relaxing into a state of simply witnessing appearances to an extent that this perception of awareness can convey this impression, this glass bowl impression I've described, that can lead to all kinds of mistaken conclusions. Without exercising critical thinking, it's likely a person will simply remain complacent within such mistaken conclusions. After all, to relax sufficiently and to perceive oneself not as a separate physical body that's going to suffer and die, but as an aloof process that contains everything, it's what a relief. That has immediate benefits. Less stress, feels better. You're not identified with the problematic self. It has some superficial benefits to lend itself to adopting that perspective. But it's a false perspective. It's based on false conclusions. It's an experience. There is an experience taking place, but it's a state of awareness. To say that it is somehow the changeless absolute background, that's just a fantasy. It's a mistake. I'm going to go into several more popular authors of non-duality. I'm going to quote these authors and to illustrate how these quotes exemplify the paradigm that I've described and the fallacies that I've described.